Well, hi. This is Lynn McWright with Advancing Nurse Coaching. Today is December 18th, 2025, and here we are nearly at the end of the year. So exciting to have been with you all throughout 2025. And here we are. We'll only have one more class, which is going to be on the 30th, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I just am so grateful to have you all here with us and to know that this has been quite literally the best year yet. I remember during the pandemic, I received a catalog in the mail and it said, Best Christmas ever. And I thought, oh man, is that true? Well, of course it was true. We're still here, aren't we? So it has to be the very best. It has to be the best. So, how would we like to begin, Teresa? What's our topic tonight?
All of a sudden, I just drew a blank. That's hilarious, isn't it? I was listening like in the best year yet, and I was thinking, yeah, this is the best year yet. But we're actually here to talk about tonight the invisible operating system, and we call it your missing piece because we have a little presentation we want to go through, but it's really a conversation amongst nurses and colleagues. We want to go through some slides. We'll make an offer at the end just to join us on the 30th. But it really is a new year and a new time because nurse coaching is here. It's not going anywhere. It's gaining momentum, and we're creating the path forward, us and other people who see the vision for nurses, bringing the skill of coaching to everywhere that we work. And I see it coming into the communities. And so we'll start there with that conversation. We'll go through our little presentation just to give some context to what we're talking about. And then we would just love to answer any questions you have at the end.
Hello, Liz. Thanks for joining us
Yeah,
tonight.
great to see you.
Wonderful for you to be here with us.
I'm going to start the presentation here. Can you see it? Okay, Lynn,
Double
you're
click.
on.
There you go. Well, our topic for tonight is the invisible operating system. And we like to think of that system as being our missing piece. And peace is spelled Peace. Such a totally appropriate word for this time. So it's all about reclaiming our power, our purpose, our peace, while still remaining in the profession that we have been called to and that we have always, always loved.
So one of the things that we'd like to talk about a little bit is how calm we can feel when we actually know where our experience comes from, how we can speak with each other and come from that place of presence and love and connection that nursing is so well known for. And really when we come from that space, it is a healing space and it can heal burnout literally from the inside out. So we're Lynn and Teresa. We'll introduce ourselves better in just a minute, but this is a masterclass for nurses just who are ready to breathe again, who are ready to go, you know what? We've been through a lot in the last 5 years, but we're still here and we're still ready to do the kind of nursing that we came here to do. So you're in the right place tonight. If you're tired of the overwhelm or you're silently asking, how much longer can you do this? Because I know that was a voice in my head for a while, was like, I just can't do it like this anymore. But I still knew that I was here to serve and to heal and to love people. But also, there was a feeling of being unseen and underappreciated, especially in a lot of situations where we're really super busy or we sort of let that recognition and the good things that are happening in nursing, it seems like we always look at the things that aren't working well. But it does lead to a feeling of being unseen and underappreciated, especially when we have really good ideas about how to bring new life and new healing to our profession and to the people we serve. And we've given everything we have. Some people tell me they just don't have anything left. one of our colleagues said, she said, I looked down the hall and my colleagues looked like ghosts. And I was like, that just hurts my heart. So if you're craving more peace, purpose, and possibility, you're in the right place and in the right conversation tonight.
So I love this picture, looking ahead. And it's just it's such a joyful smile, and she's got butterflies on her shirt. Why is burnout a signal and not a personal failure? These are things we're going to be talking about tonight. How to use a calm reset. And we can do that immediately. There's no waiting. All of this is available to us now. So, what does inner healing look like for licensed health professionals? We're some of the neediest people on the planet at this point. And how nurse coaching can restore calm, clarity, and your professional calling.
So we're Lynn and Teresa. We're board certified nurse coaches and nurse coach educators. And we're the founders of Advancing Nurse Coaching, which started in 2016. It was Lynn's vision initially because I didn't even know nurse coaching existed. But about 5 minutes after she told me about it, I knew this was the way forward for nurses. So we're dedicated to helping nurses, number one, heal themselves first, and in our terminology, from the inside out. And we'll talk about a little bit what that actually means as the foundation of our course. But Lynn, I like how you talk about the tenets of what the
Holistic.
holistic nurses say.
Okay, okay. Well, I think, Teresa, I'm going to just say that my background is primarily community health nursing. I've been an advanced practice nurse, geriatrics, and adult health, and my master's degree is actually in public health. Um, when we joined the American Holistic Nurses Association, we found that we could become certified not only as nurse coaches, but as holistic nurses. And there are three major tenets that the American holistic nurses have. The first of which is treating the patient as a whole, body, mind, and spirit. So those are three things that parts of which are acknowledged by the conventional healthcare system and parts of which are not. Body, mind, and spirit. And we are also, as holistic nurses, versed in alternative modalities as appropriate, and they're not always appropriate. And then the third, but I feel the most important part, the most important tenet of the holistic nurses is taking care of the nurse first. What a novel idea. We can't pour from an empty cup. If we can take care of ourselves, can continue to um, nourish and learn and be alive in the world today in the best possible way, won't that spill over to our clients as well, our patients? So introduce yourself, Teresa.
I know I was thinking about that. I forgot to say what I did, what I've done. So I've been a nurse for 30 years. Hard to believe that. My background is ICU. I was a director of a cardiopulmonary rehab and skilled nursing, hospital-based skilled nursing. I opened a geriatric psych unit and learned more than I ever thought I would. And then I worked in post-anesthesia recovery while I did lots of other things, home health, opening a school, coaching, training. Um, Being part of a community of nurses is an amazing place to be. And I thrive in that environment. So I create places where people can come and share their knowledge and be with each other, which is part of being part of American Holistic Nurses Association. Lynn and I are chapter co-leaders for the Austin area chapter. And as co-leaders, we've actually done a retreat or a conference every year since 2010, every year except for one. Maybe two this year because I don't think we had time. But um, that's part of what we love about building community and being part of the holistic nurses and now forwarding with nurse coaching.
So why in 2025 does this matter? Well, we're going to have to change that number very soon.
Yeah.
Because this year, especially, we really have had record stress and compassion fatigue. Those numbers came out in a study through the American Nurses Association. And when you look at the image on the right, you see a white blur where someone is missing. That someone is probably gone from the profession altogether now. We're having staffing shortages all across the country. Teresa's statistics are that 37% of the nurses quit their jobs in the last 4 years. And it's astonishing in a way. Well, it is astonishing that we've been able to continue caring for our patients at the same time as all of this exodus is happening because, well, as we know, nurses are now short-staffed, very concerned about patient safety, and struggling to survive themselves, much less thrive. So the world needs healthy, whole, and grounded nurses. That is why it matters, because you matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we all can recognize this look like I don't even know what to do right now. But within that, we never stop problem solving. We never stop trying to figure out a way to take care of the people that we're here to take care of. So understanding how reality of nursing burnout works is why the time is now for a different approach to bring in new ways of being, new ways of um, bringing in the technologies and the new paradigms that are coming into the world right now, and nurse coaching is one of those. Because the paradox is nurses have big hearts, but empty cups, you know, and when you have an empty cup, life feels really hard. You give, you soothe, you carry everything. It feels like it's all on your shoulders, and the weight of the tasks that nurses have to perform and the responsibility that we carry um, isn't something we can ignore. But what we can do is really fill each other up, support each other, learn new skills. Coaching is a skill that we can learn that helps us build better teams and actually empowers our patients to take care of themselves better.
So I
So,
love this image that
yeah,
Teresa has found. When we talk about caring for the nurse first, I went around for days wondering, how do we do that? And then it occurred to me to go back to the very first tenet of the holistic nurses, which is take care of ourselves as a whole, body, mind, and spirit. So that is the overall picture. But some parts of that are reflected in this image. The starting from the bottom, absolutely rest. That was one of the findings of the ANA study, that nurses simply are not rested. Very, very problematic for all of us in the profession to have professional nurses who are not rested. Our work depends on our well-being. Movement, the second part, absolutely. We are so conditioned now. So many people are working on the computer and making phone calls and just are not giving themselves the time that is required to actually move in a beneficial way. I do know that nurses run up and down the halls all day long, every day, and certainly I was have been one of those too. But movement is lack of movement is now considered as problematic as smoking was in the past. Going out in nature, I mean, one of the things that a holistic nurse president has suggested to her clients is that you do absolutely nothing for 10 minutes every day. And if you can, be out in nature while you're doing absolutely nothing. That really nourishes us as human beings to get that fresh oxygen and just feel the wind in our face and be able to smell the flowers as we go along our way. So all three of these things added together make us more capable of being creative people. And without rest and movement, we can't be creative. We also need alone time, especially, well, as we know, some are more introverted than others, and alone time is important for all of us. But the value of solitude has been way, way underestimated. There's a huge epidemic now of loneliness, and it's very concerning in regard to identifying loneliness as a point where even surgeries are not beneficial when loneliness is identified as one of the problems going into the surgery. The patient doesn't have as good a chance of survival, even especially as a woman. Then connection, a community to belong to, something larger than just ourselves. In our society today, we spend so much time thinking about just us, just ourselves. And we need a larger view to be able to connect with other people to really fulfill our purpose on the planet. And then we'll talk about nourishment. At Christmas time, that's often an easy one to solve, but of course it has to be nourishing food, nourishing beverages, and not all the artificial colors and flavors and sugars. And then the last one, which Teresa and I really have had an opportunity over the last couple of weeks, the last month, to spend some additional time on reflection. And that is absolutely what this time of year brings us to. I know one of you let us know that your electricity is potentially going to be cut off very soon. And it it is a problem in the cold weather, but it's a wonderful time for reflection and just being calm and knowing that we're connected to a larger energy source that supports all of us as human beings. So make sure you're filling your own cup.
You know, so what does burnout really look like? You know, a lot of us don't really recognize it. I didn't. But you know, the emotional exhaustion that comes that just makes you think, oh, I'm just tired. It's more than that. And we don't really realize the irritability. Most of us recognize the sleep disruption, you know, the 3 o'clock waking up like, oh my goodness, what did I forget to do? Or just the restless sleep. A bigger one that I noticed was a loss of empathy and joy. One of my friends at work, she was like, when did we become so apathetic? And I was like, when we forgot to take care of ourselves, when we let all of the outside in pressures, we let it rob us of our joy. And we're here to tell you that it doesn't have to be that way. And we do have control over that. But a lot of us are still wondering, is this all there is? If you're one of those people, let us know. Let us know in the chat. Do you feel like you've come to a point where, is this all there is and I'm looking for something new? This is it. So if you've asked yourself that question, you're definitely not alone. You know, the real cost to not recognizing what burnout actually feels like, there's a personal cost. You know, the fatigue is one, but then there's the guilt, the self like, well, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get over this? Other physical symptoms, whether your body is sending you a love letter of back pain or knee pain or indigestion or pain that moves around is a sign of burnout. You know, one day it hurts here, another day it hurts there. And most of us don't recognize that. Professionally, we have a lot of disengagement. One of my nurse friends told me, she goes, I just feel like a robot. I just go and I do it and I do it and I do it. And she said, I don't have time to think about anything else. When we're in that state of mind, we have increased errors. And of course, when we can't take it any longer, there's turnover. But spiritually, it's a loss of purpose and meaning. Most of us really desire to have that, but sometimes we don't know which way to look anymore. And then losing connection with what we once, you know, brought us to nursing was the connection and the feeling of nursing, which we can't discount because that's part of what we do. So burnout doesn't mean you're broken. It just means that we're human and we're overdue for a renewal. We're overdue to stop, pause, take a look, and say, you know what? I matter too in this equation. And when I take care of myself, I take care of my patients much better. And it certainly doesn't mean that we're weak. I know that a lot of people say, I'm just going to push through. I'm just going to push through. You can only do that so long before your body will start breaking down. So it behooves us to take a look sooner. And if your inner voice is whispering to you, pay attention. It's time to look at that. And there's something deeper that's needed. And I think what we're bringing tonight is the conversation about nurse coaching, but it really is much deeper than that. It's really about the human spirit and how we take care of ourselves and nurture ourselves so we can take care of patients better.
So, section two, the pathway. I love this image. It's just so inviting. I want to go immediately. So, we can discover through insight practical tools and frameworks that will help restore our clarity, our sanity, and our purpose.
So we're calling it the calm path, like it's the way forward, but we don't have to effort for it. And it starts with awareness, noticing what's happening on the inside of us. You know, we do actually live in a thought created world. I've been to many conferences where they say the most powerful thing we have is thought. And then we move right past it. And we're like, no, it's true. It's absolutely true. And we can notice our thoughts and have guidance from that place. And when we do, we can have more compassion because when we recognize what we actually are doing with our own thoughts and the way that we are interacting with our world and with our own self, with our self-talk, we can actually respond with more kindness and less criticism. Lynn always says that the first step in healing is dropping judgment and self-criticism. And it's absolutely true. We judge ourselves and we judge others, but based on what? A momentary thought that we have about what something means. We know intuitively that that's not true, which is why nurses are such great healers, because we can look past what's actually here and see a human being as a whole healthy person in spite of what's happening in the moment. And Lynn was talking earlier about the taking care of ourselves, those consistent habits, making time for yourself every day for at least one of those things will go a long way in your own self-care. And this is the foundation of what nurse coaching is about. It begins with insight and it begins with noticing. And that's not effortful. You know, a lot of people think they have to do something, you know, take the next supplement, do the next juicing, do the next meal prep. But it's actually even more internal than that. It's making good choices before we do any of those things. So tonight we have a little reset that we thought we would just do with you. Kind of just let what we've talked about settle for just a second. So I'd like you to just kind of come out of the conversation and focus on yourself for just a minute And just take one big pause and a full breath and ask yourself, does any of this resonate with you? Are you one of the people who feels burned out or tired? Or are you full of energy and ready to do something new? So just breathe in slow. We actually take a deep breath naturally because it slows our system down. It soothes our vagus nerve. And ask yourself, what do you need right now? If you could have anything you want, what do you need right now? And lean into that thought, lean into that feeling, and take a deep breath. And breathe until your shoulders soften. Relax your shoulders, relax your legs. What came up for you when you asked yourself, what do I need right now? If you want to share it in the chat when we're done, that'd be great. But what do you need, or what would you like to have? And allow that feeling to wash over you as if you've already got it. Take another deep breath. And lean into that feeling. And when you're ready, come on back in the room. What did you notice in your body when you actually slowed down just for a second to ask yourself a question? Did you feel any release of tension? Do you feel a little tired now?
Yeah.
You know, this calm isn't a destination. This was actually an internal shift. It's an inner shift that we can do in less than 60 seconds when we actually take the time to do it. And a lot of people, if you've done any meditation or guided visualizations, you know the power of just taking a pause. And it's one of the things that holistic nurses love to do. We love to get into that space where we can be reflective and settle our thoughts a little bit, because that's where wisdom lives. It lowers our cortisol. It's, activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So after this call, you can, take a really nice long sleep. But it also builds emotional regulation and helps connect us to our inner clarity. And I don't think we talk about it enough, that we actually have internal wisdom available anytime we want it, if we can slow down long enough to hear it. So, Lynn?
So we really are looking at changing our model of how we live our lives and how we work. So in the old model, which seems to be what's happening today, people are just pushing harder. And part of what it takes to do that is ignoring yourself. So we're moving finally from what we consider chaos to an area of calm, an era of calm. So in the new model, we are encouraged to take a pause. We, when we put our hand on the patient's door before we enter the room, just quietly take a deep breath, close your eyes if you like, and prepare for something new, knowing that you have no clue what lies on the other side of that door. But moving from a calm place will allow you to address whatever the issue is. And that pause gives us a chance to listen. And what we're listening for actually is ourselves. We're listening to an inner guidance that comes from a much greater source than simply ourselves. We, in our vocabulary, describe that inner wisdom as coming from mind, or you could say from God. Any name is fine. The source, I love to call it the source. But we know that we must be led from inner wisdom because we can't figure it all out by ourselves. I was just thinking about that in regard to one of our students the other night. She just becomes exhausted trying to figure it all out. And it's not possible. This is life. Life will unfold, life will blossom. We will see the fragrance and the color and the beauty of life only when we stop to notice.
So what Lynn's describing is really the nurse coaching approach of moving from fixing to facilitating what we call insight, that learning to listen to that wisdom inside of us. But we also create a space for healing for yourself and for others. When we learn how to do it for ourselves, and we really do want to take care of ourselves first, we actually reconnect with the joy, confidence, and purpose that once inspired us to become nurses and brought the joy to other people. And who doesn't love to see a patient get well and do better? And sometimes we know that even though we can't change their circumstances, we know that we've made a difference in their life. And that, reconnects us to the joy and confidence and purpose that what I came here to do was to ease human suffering. There's a lot of joy and the feeling that knowing you made someone's life better, there's nothing like it. So when we learn what the inside out approach that restores clarity is, it's actually how our thought works. There is a direct connection between how we think and what we're actually creating in the world. And I know that's not news to most people, but it is the paradigm shift that I think healthcare is looking for, is to really understand that mechanism that we've all been born with to help us move forward as we come into modern nursing, with all of the um, technology and new people coming into the world. It's an amazing place to be right now.
So Florence Nightingale told us in the year 1870 that people would only begin to see the kind of nursing that she envisioned in 150 years. Well, that was 2020. Everything changed.
There's no coincidences, is there? Is that wow? So the offer is now. We're going to talk a little bit about our program, um, because this really is the beginning. So let's see what opens up next. What if one day could restore your calm, your clarity, and your passion, and help you remember who you really are? Like, take a pause out just for you. And what if you ended 2025 grounded and began 2026 completely aligned with where you want to go with your life and your career? How would that feel? A lot of people make New Year's resolutions. What if we don't make it a resolution? We just make it a way of life. So we're calling it the Healing Shift. It's the name of the webinar, the half-day webinar that we're going to do on December 30th. And we're going to talk about purpose and prosperity, because we have to talk about what prosperity means in this day and age, especially with so much going on in the world. It's a world of possibilities, and we're creating it now. Every single nurse that comes and joins the conversation is creating the future of nursing. So collectively, we can do so much more. And we'd love for you to join us and learn a little bit more about nurse coaching and the kind of coaching that we do, and be part of that transformation.
So at the Healing Shift, you'll have the opportunity to reconnect with your heart, the heart of nursing, to rebalance your energy and your emotions, to redefine how you communicate, how you lead, and how you influence. This is such an incredible time when nurses truly are finding their voice. So much of what is happening now in healthcare and in nursing requires us as nurses to stand on our own 2 feet and actually speak to the public, speak to Congress, speak to the government authorities where we live locally. Let them know that nurses are the largest workforce in America, and that in spite of the fact that we have been so silent and so attentive to our duties, we've become practically invisible to the public. I was thinking about that the other day, and I wondered, well, if we're the largest profession, how is it possible that we're practically invisible? And it finally occurred to me. I said, you know, private duty nursing at home is a very small part of what nursing is today. Very, very few people in the public have ever paid a nurse directly. The way that the hospitals have it set up, and healthcare and the insurance companies, nursing is paid for as part of room and board. So nobody has ever seen a bill for nursing services, much less actually paid a nurse directly. So here we are, we're rising to new possibilities, including becoming certified, nationally board certified as a nurse coach. So we're doing our workshop on the 30th of September, and everybody else's ticket is $27. Actually, it just went up to $47, but we have a special offer.
So today, because you're here on this call, there's a code for you to be able to get the 31st, the December 30th for free. So because we want people to be there and come and join the conversation. It's the perfect end of the year reset. You know, make a plan for what you want to do for your next year. For the last 2 or 3 years, I've picked a word that I wanted to bring through the year. And my first one was, um, oh my goodness, I just forgot what it was.
Massive action.
Massive
And
action and quantum leaps. And that was absolutely true. We never come to the end of our learning, but when we set an intention for the end of for our year, subconsciously, we actually lean into that. This last year was strategy, and I can tell you that that has been one of the biggest growth curves I've ever had, because I did not know how much we needed to have a full picture of what we want for our profession, for my personal profession. And I think a lot of people have big ideas of what they would like to see in nursing, but we have to come together with a strategy to do that. And nurse coaching is actually helping us learn how to do that better. People in the business world, have done it for a very long time, but it's time for nurses to have a strategy of what we want for ourselves and what we would like to see our profession do. So that is one of the places I think that is a very exciting time in nursing. So we can step into 2026 with a calmness that we haven't had for a while, and clarity and confidence, and really let the world know we're here, that we have the knowledge. Nurses are innovative. Many of the big things that have happened in the past, a nurse founded the Red Cross, a nurse founded physical therapy in the polio epidemic. A nurse did occupational therapy. All of those things are now separate professions, but it started with a nurse. And so we've always been on the forefront. This time we're going to claim it as our own. So today, for the fast action bonus, if you can sign up for the 30th, you'll get at the 1-day conference, a reflection journal and a really inspirational audio that Lynn recorded, that every time I hear it is like a breath of fresh air. It is so visual and so feels so good, I think it's when it will become something that I just listen to over and over and over. And so your calm begins in this moment when you say yes to yourself and join us at the December 30th retreat.
So we have a program and we have a purpose. And this little heart of amethyst reminds me so much of what our true heart is. And we'll tell you more about that in just a second.
So the pillars of the healing shift for December 30th are to reconnect to yourself, rebalance or heal from the inside out, redefine what it is that you want for yourself and for your career, and maybe even your personal life. You know, coaching conversations transform at a very deep level. So we'll experience a little bit of that. And then rise to your purpose. What is your path that you would like to have for your next, however long you're in nursing? Um, the path that we can see right now is to reignite nursing's purpose. I think a lot of people are actually reigniting right now, and they're like, you know what? I'm not going to take this lying down. Let's do something about it. Nurse coaching is a way to do that. And prosperity, you know, we have to talk about the money. We have to. Um, because in order to own our voice, we have to be paid for what we do. And nurse coaching definitely offers a path for that. A lot of nurses are doing that right now. My friend Bina, before she even graduated her nursing program, she happened to be talking to an HR director. And she's like, oh, yeah, I want nurse coaching for my company. And they hired her before she graduated at a $500,000 contract. And she's still serving those people. So if you've seen her around the internet, she's an amazing human being. And she has found her vision and her way of serving. And she's part of the network and people who are out here showing other nurses how to prosper from their nursing knowledge. And it all starts with a nurse coach board certification, which Mickey Erickson has done all the paperwork and all the legwork for us to be able to do that. So who's this for? This is for registered nurses who really love holistic nursing, or a nurse practitioner who may see patients every day and knows something is missing. If you're feeling a little burned out or stuck, or I felt a restlessness, like I need to do something else. What else can I do? So when nurse coaching came, that was just the normal shift for me because I could see the potential. But if you're craving the freedom and flexibility and fulfillment, this path offers the ability for you to create whatever you can envision. And, you know, that doesn't actually mean leaving the hospital or wherever you may work. It could be bringing the skill of coaching to your institution and creating culture change from the inside out. So if you're ready to rediscover your clarity and your calling, we want to be part of your conversation with you.
Interactive, insight-based sessions. That's what you'll be experiencing. Um, we'll have stories and metaphors. You know, what we're talking about literally has no form. It's something that is beyond the touch, taste, and feel of the material world. So that's why we speak in metaphors. And those metaphors are stories which really come to the heart of why every human being is here and why we're on the planet at the same time, working together to improve all of humanity and all of human health. So we're looking to create, and we already are, um, creating a very supportive and principle-based community. In this time of history, I actually wrote 6 years ago an article that was published in the Beginnings magazine of the Holistic Nurses. And the title was simply this: The Revolution Begins in Nursing. So the revolution has already begun. We're just bringing it to nursing. Nursing is ready to change. We've had so many people who are seeking something more, something lasting, something that doesn't appear as a check box or pizza being delivered to the lunchroom, something that is more nourishing than anything we've experienced so far. And part of that begins as a clear path into the new professional area of being a nurse coach.